All right, welcome back, guys. We're here now, episode 2 of Projects to the Palace. As you may or may not know, I'm Brittany Lewis. I have here with me my cousin Roosevelt May. If you did not watch episode 1, you definitely want to go back and watch that. Definitely. You're in for a treat.
Yes.
We're going to now roll into episode 2, which is going to kind of hit Momming Ain't Easy. That's the title of the episode. But we kind of ran out of time on episode 1. That's why you got to go back. And we're just going to roll into it right now.
Well, Brittany, thank you for having me here with you. This has been an unbelievable experience.
Mm-hmm.
We want to go back again. I know that you suffered from guilt and some other emotions that happened being a teen mom. Can you tell the audience a little bit about that?
Yes. So for a very long time, because of the things that were said to me about being a teen mom, I suffered consciously and subconsciously. And it could be something as simple as rolling through the grocery store with my son crying, or showing up to church with a baby and not having a man or, a husband with me. Showing up to a T-ball game and just being a single mom, knowing that from a societal standpoint, there should be a man present. As a teen mom, hearing the things like you're spoiled milk or you had a baby out of wedlock, those things shaped me. And so I was kind of like shaped to believe that I would never be good enough to this son. So I spent about 10 years into my child's life feeling I wasn't good enough or I was not producing what he needed. Because I did not have my nursing license before he was born, I was not giving him the things that he needed.
Wow. That's that's unbelievable to hear it come out of your mouth, right? Knowing some of it, but just to hear you say it is really powerful. Those 10 years, of the struggles, and again, we got single moms probably watching this and listening and trying to understand this, going through something as we talked about in the original series. But let's talk about really a little bit more about how those 10 years affected you, and how has it affected Byron today, your son?
So for me, it was always an internal struggle. As when Byron was a child, of course, he had his own room. I would go to lay down myself, go to say my prayers, and just still feel like, he was well fed. Byron didn't go without as a child, but I would still lay down at night and try to figure out or battle within myself, what more could I give? He had a father, a present father, but of course, we were not in the same household.
Right.
So I still felt like I was lacking, or Byron was cheated out of the experience of a 2-parent household. As far as Byron, it took him and also my therapist to help me realize.
Right.
Like me and Byron had a conversation maybe his freshman year of high school.
Right.
Because I had him so young, I get like a combo of a son, a brother, and a best friend in one.
Sure.
So we were just in a drive-thru one day, and we were talking. I think something happened to one of his classmates.
Right.
And so he said, "Mom, do you not have a classmate from Jamaica? And they're over here." And I said, "How did they get here?" And he said, "Well, his mom had him young, just like you had me. And so the family didn't accept them, so they came to America."
Sure.
And I was like, wow, like that's deep. And so he told me, he said, I couldn't imagine like that being us. Like he doesn't get to see his grandma. He doesn't get to see any of his family.
Yes.
And I said, well, that's sad, Byron. But, I used to kind of feel that way. And that's when I explained to him, like, I used to feel bad because you didn't get to grow up in a 2-parent household. And he said, Mama, I never felt like that. He said, I have friends who are in a 2-parent household, but their dads are drunks.
Sure.
I have friends who are in a 2-parent household, but they don't get to talk to their mama like I talk to you. I have friends who, he was like, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right.
Like you provide an open space for me.
Absolutely.
I have friends that don't get to tell their mama their true feelings or how they really feel.
Right.
I can come and talk to you.
Right.
So that like validated me.
Sure.
And I think he was 14 at the time.
Absolutely.
Prior to that, I I do see a therapist on a regular. And I talked to my therapist, and she told me, she said, Brittany, all of these things that you are internalizing, unless your son are showing you unless Byron is showing you different signs externally, you have to let it go.
Absolutely.
You are carrying this weight, and you're not even flourishing as a mother because you are carrying guilt that you should have left back when you were 19 years old.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, for the teen moms or the teens that's pregnant right now, what message would you like to leave them?
Overall, just you're not alone. That's the number one thing. And when you start your journey in motherhood, just do the best you can because that's honestly all you can do. Use your resources. There are plenty of resources out now. Like I look around now and see there are mental health resources, there's financial resources. There are so many things out there, but don't get comfortable in those resources. Don't let your mind be reshaped by those resources. Use the resources, but have you a bigger vision and a bigger plan. And I say that like this podcast is Projects to the Palace. So go live in the projects, utilize that as long as you need to, but go in the projects and stay there while you're in school or while you're learning a trade or while you're learning to do hair. Doing all of that, coming up with a plan. Tell yourself, like, hey, I'm going to live in the projects, I'm going to get food stamps, I'm going to be on welfare for 5 years. Give yourself a limit. And by year 5, I'm going to have my LLC. I'm going to have a business. I'm going to have my nursing license. Year 5, I'm not going to need childcare from the government. My child's going to go to this school. Have a plan in place. Because as long as you're in the projects and you're comfortable, the projects is going to control you for the rest of your life. Also, remember that that child is looking at you. My son could not be the child that he is had I not taken the steps that I took.
Yes.
So remember that you're leading the child in front of you. You are breaking generational curses.
Wow. Wow. You know, very impactful. Very impactful. Can you talk about your parents and that relationship that you had with your parents or you have with your parents?
So if we're gonna hit on not so much a daddy's girl, my father's still alive. My mom and my dad were married, I want to say until I was about 9 or 10 years old. My dad was in the household. My dad was present, like physically present, let me say that. But my dad always worked multiple jobs, and he always worked night shift. And during the day, he would sleep.
Sure.
He was always there, and I think all my dad knew was to provide. I don't remember my dad at any church event. I don't remember my dad at any basketball game. I don't remember my dad at anything I did in the church. I just remember I had a dad, and he was in the house. I don't know any lesson that my dad taught me. I don't know anything that I could go back and pull from to say, hey, this is what my dad taught me.
Sure.
And into my adulthood, when I would hear and see other people like be the daddy's girl, like for a long time that controlled me because the inner me wanted to be able to say,
Sure.
you know, my dad did this or my dad did that. Because I have several friends who like adore their fathers. And I wanted to be able to do that. I mean, and I had a stepdad too. No discredit to him.
Sure.
He just did the best that he could. But there's nothing like that authentic daddy-daughter relationship.
Sure.
For a long time, I like mourned that relationship that I would never get. Like I said, my mom and dad divorced, and I felt like when they divorced, my dad divorced me. The only contact that we would have was if I would have my grandmother or somebody take me by there.
Sure.
And again, that was like, hey, Dad, how you doing? And, you know, what you got going on? I'm doing this, I'm doing that. All right, boom. Just a little conversation.
Right.
And that affected me in more ways than I'm sure he even knows. That affected how I felt about myself. That affected my choice in men. that just like men do not understand what their presence means. Especially, I mean, I know it means something when you have a son,
Right.
but when you have a daughter, I just feel like it hits differently.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so I know, being a dad myself, um, with girls,
Mhm.
with boys and but girls especially, girls are a little different.
Mhm.
Girls are, you know, you gotta spend the time. You gotta show them. Number one, you gotta be a bigger person, a better person,
Mhm.
uh, than you ever hope to be.
Mhm.
Being a dad, because you want your daughters to go out and fall in love with somebody that's better than you are at
Mhm.
the end of the day. So, you know, how do you think that relationship or lack of affects your son?
That is a very good question. It's almost like a catch-22. So, as a mother, had I not combated that
Sure.
or put the things in place, I feel like it would have negatively impacted my son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But as a mother, I know how I felt.
Sure.
So for me, I just was like, I don't want my son to be like my father.
Mm.
And for that reason, and I have, like I said, I have very transparent conversations with Byron.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, I'll tell Byron, like, when you decide to start a family, you need to make sure you're in the position to be a present father.
Mm.
And I'm not just saying financially.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to just be a husband and wear a
Right.
ring.
Right.
You need to make sure you are present and you can invest your time.
Mm-hmm.
You can invest your energy,
Mm-hmm.
not just your money.
Mm-hmm.
Because your money doesn't matter. My dad was a provider. I don't care about his money.
Right.
I don't care where he worked at.
Right.
I could care less.
Sure.
I'm sitting here 34 years old and I cannot tell you one life lesson that he has taught me besides get up and go to work.
So let me go there. I like to go deep.
Mm-hmm.
I like to go deep. So for your how moving fast forward, 34 years old today,
Mm-hmm.
relationships.
Mm-hmm.
How has that impacted your ability or inability to have a relationship?
We're going to call it inability because
Okay.
I'm single.
Okay. All right. All right. All right.
So we're going to call it
Okay.
inability. And I would say it has impacted my relationships initially in my like younger life.
Sure.
I would really just go for anything because
Mm.
there was no standard there.
Sure.
But just like I feel like everything else in my life, the bad works for your good. Over time, it helped me to kind of raise the bar.
Mm.
And to kind of look for these flags or the things that I wanted. It helped me to develop this is what I'm going to deal with, and this is what I'm not going to go for.
Right.
Um, as I got, like, I guess, older, it's just like any little thing, it's like, okay, bye.
Right.
Because look, no, I'm
I
not doing this.
I understand.
Yeah, like bye-bye.
Right.
Anyone who thinks that just going to work, being a provider, bye.
Sure.
Because that's not it. I need more than that. I don't really like blame my dad for that, but long story short, I wrote a letter to my father.
Okay.
So that's how I healed the little girl me who was still angry with him.
Sure.
So I wrote a long letter to him. I mailed it to him with no return address. He got the letter because we didn't speak on the phone for a very long time. Once I got sick, he called me. I refused to answer. So here lately, the end of 2022, I was like, I'm not going to go into 2023 like this. So I picked up the phone and I called him, and we had just a basic conversation. And it's like a light bulb went off. We started talking, and he asked me, how is Brian doing?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to choose to shift my energy. Because if you don't even know your grandson's name, why am I letting it anger me? That's your problem. That's your loss. If you're going to miss out on Byron, that's your loss.
Absolutely.
So then I continued to ask him questions because I have a sister and a brother who I have no relationship with. I used to talk to my brother, but that was from me like finding him.
Sure.
So I asked my dad, I said, when's the last time you talked to my sister and my brother? And so he told me he hadn't talked to my sister in 30 years. And I'm like, okay, well, now you know what? Why are my feelings hurt that I haven't talked to you in 2 years?
Right.
When you have another child that you haven't talked to in 30 years.
Right.
So what makes me special?
Right.
So then that shifted my mindset of, you know what? You around here carrying this weight, you mad at this man, and he done moved on with his life. Because then he just kind of shifted the conversation to, you know, I got married. I was like, okay. Your mama didn't tell you? No, she didn't tell me. Well, congratulations. You got to meet her. Well, I won't. So how Brian do? I said, I don't know how Brian's doing because my son's name is Byron.
Sure.
Okay, well, I'll call you later. All right, well, you don't have to, but I'll see you whenever I get tomorrow.
Wow.
That was it.
Well, you know, that's very unfortunate, and that that is just shocking. But let me ask you this: there's some guys,
Mhm.
they're watching, right?
Mhm.
And they're saying, man, that lady, I see her, and I like her. What is it? What is it? What is that? What is that guy? What does he have? What does he need to possess? I mean, what kind of guy is the ideal guy for Brittany that's gonna make Brittany just give up everything? I mean, just say, hey, listen.
We need
I
to cut
like
the
you.
tape.
I like you, and I want you.
We need to cut the tape. Now I wish you had a script.
You got, hey, there's plenty of guys out there. They're watching, and they're saying, hey, wow, somebody, this lady's single. I
You
mean,
know what?
matter of fact, I got an earbud in, and someone's talking to me in my ears, asking me, is this lady single? So
You know
I've
what?
got it. Listen, the audience want to know this. What is it? What is it? What is it?
Okay. You want me to have a to-do list on a man?
Absolutely.
We're going to be here till tomorrow.
The thing is that for men,
Mm-hmm.
we need to know,
Okay.
right? We need to know. If we know, that gives us a little bit of. Now you're gonna have about 400,000 inboxes on this deal. Say, hey, choose me, right? That's the drawback to this deal. But you know what?
Oh,
This deal's going worldwide. So let's just go ahead and let them know. Ask them. I mean, tell them.
okay.
Do it.
We can't cut the tape, so I got to answer, right? Well, top of the top would be he would have to be a man of God.
Sure.
So I hope we lost about 200,000 right there.
Well, you started with 1.5 million. So
Okay.
now you're down to 1.3.
Okay. So he has to be a man of God.
Yes.
Submit to God first. Led by God, because if you cannot be led by God, we can't, because how you going to cover and lead me? That would be first thing first. I don't really have you got to be taller than me. I know that's shallow, but I'm sorry. Like I'm 6'2", my son's 6'8". You can't be 5'1". I'm sorry. I know that sounds so shallow. Don't y'all judge me.
Right.
I like spontaneous laughter. Got to have a good personality. You have to be able to accept all I am, all my lights. You have to be able to not submit to my anointing, but understand my call.
Yes.
Family oriented, have a healthy family background.
Sure.
Can't come with all that dysfunction. Mentally stable, good mental health. What else you want me to say?
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, you know, obviously nobody's going to come to the table.
Okay.
That's 100%, right?
I
You're not going to be
understand.
able to open up the box, right? And they're brand new.
Yeah, I would have put me one together by now.
Absolutely, yes. So, is there anything that you say these are non-negotiables?
Okay. My non-negotiables would be you cannot have more than 2 children.
Okay.
And if you have 2 children, I need them to be healthy relationships.
Sure.
Good co-parenting relationships.
Okay. You know, this has been an unbelievable segment.
Mhm.
Uh, it's been heart wrenching
Mhm.
and it's been fun. Uh, you know, not uh, so much a daddy's girl
Right.
is, you know, a segment that I believe that we had to touch on because it kind of shapes really the next segments that's coming up. You know,
Mhm.
puts us in a position where we can start to really dig deep and talk about some stuff that's really impacted you.
Mhm.
You know, and for the audience, I don't know if you know, but you know, this young lady's been through some stuff. And the reason why we're here today is we're here just to kind of share and allow her to share her journey, you know, from being a teen mom to some of the things that you're going to hear over the next few podcasts. So I'm thankful to be here and be with you, Brittany.
I'm
Thank you
grateful.
for having me.
All right. Wasn't expecting that, y'all. I don't know if I'm even allowed to tell y'all that this is unscripted and Roosevelt's just over here cutting up. Hopefully they don't edit this part out because it's supposed to be raw and true. But catch us on the next episode of Projects to the Palace. And we have had a great time here. I hope you are enjoying. And we will pick back up and see you guys in episode 3.